Welcome back. We are continuing a really important, very timely conversation with Stephen Mosher of the Population Research Institute, one of our country's duty experts on China, the author of Hegemon and Bully of Asia, two incredibly important works on the true character of China and its ambitions, the China dream. Steve, we were talking about world domination as their goal. Obviously, they understand, the Chinese communists, that the United States is an impediment to the realization of those goals. Talk a little bit about what they're doing to try to uh, clear the way with respect to this country through unrestricted warfare, as they've called it, and what it means that they have in the presidency of this country at the moment a man who has been deeply compromised by them as they pursue those goals.
Well, you know what it means, Frank, as well as I. It means that we cannot trust the only person in the United States who's elected by the entire American public, who is supposed to represent America on the world stage, who is supposed to represent all of us, not a faction within his own political party, seems to be in thrall to some degree to China, which knows perfectly well, better than the American public, exactly what kind of escapades the Biden crime family has been up to over the last 20 years. China's project of elite capture, by which they compromise various politicians in the United States. Peter Schweitzer has written a book about it. You have, of course, on that list, you have people like Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein. But they now have reached a kind of culmination because they have compromised, I believe, the president of the United States. I think we're all waiting with bated breath to see what files were not on Hunter Biden's laptop, but were deleted from Hunter Biden's laptop because, as bad as the files that were on Hunter Biden's laptop when it was turned into the FBI and then lost are, the files that were deleted must be much, much worse. And China has all those files. And so you know that when Biden is negotiating with Xi, in the back of his mind, he knows that she knows that he knows that they have all of the goods on China, all of the wire transfers, all of the contracts, all of the signatures that date back now probably 15 years on the Biden crime family's activities. So
Steve
um,
Mosher, I have to say, I'm not sure whether there's much negotiating going on. I have the feeling, especially when you hear about these 4 hour conversations, 3.5 hour conversations between the two, and knowing what we know of Joe Biden's condition, I have the feeling that the vast preponderance of that time is taking dictation from Xi as to what will be done by the United States government, as you say, under a president in the thrall of the CCP. Let me ask you about another piece of this, though, Steve, that I know with your deep understanding of the nature of the Chinese regime, and particularly the as I said earlier, the unbelievable, horrific character of their murderous population control policies and all that flows from it in terms of controlling the population more generally. When you hear about efforts like, oh, a digital medical card that will, conveniently encapsulate and convey all of your medical information, or about a programmable currency that the United States government will issue and that can be manipulated in terms of the access you might enjoy to your own money. That sounds to me an awful lot like some of the Chinese Communist Party's model, and the extent to which it's being imported here is deeply worrying, I think. Would you agree?
Well, I certainly would. And the Chinese Communist Party has now locked down the city of Shanghai. 26 million people for a couple of weeks. People are jumping off the balconies of high-rise apartment buildings. They're starving to death, welded into their departments. It's Wuhan lockdown all over again. And I'm reminded of the this is an expression of the Communist Party's drive for total control. And I'm reminded of the Communist Party's official who, in 1980, at the very beginning of the one-child policy, Frank said, we're a socialist country. We can control reproduction in the same way we control production under a state plan. Well, now they're in effect saying Xi Jinping's attitude is we are a socialist country. We can control the replication of a virus in the same way we control reproduction and the production of people under a state plan. Now, I doubt they will succeed with a highly infectious airborne respiratory virus, but nonetheless, that's an expression of their drive for total control. And apparently, our elites are envious of that. Apparently, our elites like the idea that China is rolling out digital currency because it enables them to track all the money that you spend, all the money that you have, all the resources you have in real time, and deny you access to those resources at the not at the drop of a hat, but at the decision of an artificial intelligence program algorithm that thinks that you're spending it for reasons they don't agree with. So I've always thought that the pandemic was to force you to get the vaccine. The vaccine was to force you to get the vaccine passport. The passport was to force you to get the Chinese model social credit score. The social credit score is to force you to obey the government. The government can then deny you food, medicine, housing, travel, the way they do in China, the way they started to do in Europe. Now they're backing away. I think we've dodged that bullet, Frank. I think this wave of the pandemic, this pandemic did not take them as far down that road as they would like. But make no mistake, they look to China as a model. They too are would be totalitarians, and using modern technology for the first time, you have actually the means to establish a totalitarian state. We always said that wouldn't succeed because you can't have enough people watching to watch everyone all the time. Well, you don't have to. People watch themselves through their computers, through their iPhones, by surveillance cameras and all the rest. And artificial intelligence can crunch the huge data that results. And then you have human intervention at the other end. It's manageable. And people can be controlled. We have to avoid that.
Well, that is the model that the Chinese have established and are perfecting at home and exporting abroad. And I think you're absolutely right, Steve Mosher, that the appetite of elites in this country, whether they've been captured literally or not, remains to be seen. But they seem to be intent on this kind of approach. And God help us if they succeed, maybe not in this pandemic, but perhaps with all of that in place when the next one arises. Steve, thank you for your time today. Thanks for all the great work you do at the Population Research Institute. I hope you'll come back to us soon and often. And I hope the rest of you enjoyed this program with information about what you can do to help protect our country. I hope that you will find yourself equipped better to do it and join us in that cause. And then go forth and multiply.